Welcome back to the Becoming Her podcast. We are back with another heater of an episode, and Dr. Ann and Bouquet and I are excited to chat all things. We titled this Stress in Your Waistline, but we're going to link this directly to cortisol. I'm going to save my piece, and I'm going to step off of my soapbox as soon as I say my piece, and I'm going to let Bouquet really dive into internally what's going on as cortisol raises, because you guys, I want to start off by saying I am not discounting the impact that cortisol can have. And if cortisol is high, we need to do absolutely everything that we can to help lower and bring that number down. And Bouquet's really going to dive into why this is the case, how it can help to throw all of their hormones out of whack. And us aiming for optimal hormones, right, is a big piece of our fat loss journey, and losing the weight, actually keeping it off and feeling our very best. But there is absolutely a trend on social media right now, and it makes me want to pull my freaking hair out. And if I swear I see one more TikTok on my For You page about some cortisol cocktail or adrenal cocktail, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. Because at the end of the day, you guys, and what I really need you listening and honing in and understanding right now, if you are struggling with fat loss, right? If you are, riding the struggle bus hard right now, every single social media influencer out there has to demonize something to make a buck. And it was carbs at one point, it was sugar, and then it was seed oils. And now we're riding the cortisol bandwagon. And at the end of the day, if you are struggling on your fat loss journey, truly fat loss is going to come down to a calorie deficit, is going to come down to your nutrition. It is going to come down to you moving your body a bit more, creating energy balance. You are not overweight because your cortisol is too high. You are not stuck because your cortisol is too high. Can cortisol and high cortisol lead to things that can make fat loss really freaking challenging? Yes. But at the end of the day, we're talking forever fat loss. And that's how we roll around here. We have to get down to the root cause of why we're stuck to begin with, right? And so I really want to make that point very clear, because it's every other influencer right now that's just riding this bandwagon. Like, oh, you drink this cocktail that's going to balance, and Bouquet can talk, hormones are never quote unquote balanced. It's going to balance your hormones, and this is going to be the answer to your fat loss prayers. Like, if it were that easy, we'd all be drinking a really fancy pink drink, and we'd all be rocking a bikini and 6-pack abs, right? So it's not, but Bouquet, let's dive into high cortisol. I want to dive into high cortisol. I want to dive into symptoms of low cortisol, because that is very much so a thing as well. And then let's really chat about what's going on internally. I know Dr. Ann wants to dive into some things here, because she was struggling. She has her own personal journey related to this. So yes, you guys, this is a piece of the puzzle. But I really want to debunk all the debunk that needs to be debunked for the debunkers. And then can I say debunk one more time? And then we can, like I said, but also dive into the science piece of it, and what we can do to truly get to a place where we can feel our best and optimize hormones.
Yeah. So, and Dr. Ann knows about this. Back in the day, cortisol, sympathetic nervous system, used during necessary times. So that's our fight or flight nervous system. And back in the day when we were running and saber-toothed tiger was chasing us, cortisol needs to go up to give us that adrenaline to make us run, jump over whatever we need to get over so we don't get killed, right? So that nervous system needs to be activated when there is true threat in front of us. And then our parasympathetic nervous system is what I learned in school is our rest and digest. We need, that's when we're resting. That's turned on in order to rest and digest. Okay. But the problem with our culture today, and I know Dr. Ann has lots of therapy clients and I have patients, our sympathetic nervous system, our flight or fight nervous system is on constantly on, because we don't have true threat in front of us, but what's causing it is perceived threat, and our brain doesn't know the difference between true threat and perceived threat. It sees the saber-toothed tiger chasing you as the same as you worrying about what your husband thinks about what you're going to wear when you get home. I mean, truly, like, or what you're worried about what your friend thinks about you, or if you eat that cheeseburger, you're going to gain 25 pounds. You're stressed, you're nervous, you're anxious, you're going to make your cortisol go up. Okay. So cortisol is a steroid hormone. Yeah. Your body doesn't know, your brain doesn't know the difference. Your brain sees perceived threat as true threat, right? Dr.
Mhm.
Ann, your brain doesn't know the difference.
Well, and just for reference, part of what you're talking about goes alongside of anxiety, because anxiety is I overestimate the threat and I underestimate my ability to manage the threat.
Yeah.
That was
And
powerful.
that leads to high cortisol. And again, because your
Mhm.
body doesn't know the difference, we cannot outsmart our body.
Right. Exactly. So cortisol, what is it? It's a steroid hormone produced by the adrenal glands. They sit on top of your kidneys. That's what they do. And they do amazing things. You need cortisol. Without it, you'll die. You can't live without cortisol. So it regulates our metabolism, it reduces inflammation, controls blood sugar, regulates blood pressure, and it even helps with like memory function and brain health. So when cortisol is functioning properly, it does these things. So when it's not, imagine it's not doing these things, and it causes inflammation, causes issues with blood sugar dysregulation. So when your nervous system is on flight or fight, sympathetic nervous system, and you're releasing cortisol, your body's also releasing insulin and sugar, and your blood sugar dysregulates. So it's a push of glucose because you need that extra energy to reuse it to get to whatever the perceived threat is today, the traffic light turning red, the guy flipping you off on the road, the lady cussing you out at the grocery store, whatever it may be.
Your husband that won't put
Cortisol's
his
being
shoes away.
pumped. What'd you say?
I said your husband that won't put his shoes away.
Oh yeah, your husband that won't put his shoes away, or
That sounded
then we say,
personal.
hey, it's all little things. Choose your battles. But no, what happens is those perceived threats or those issues are constantly allowing glucose to be pushed through your system. Blood sugar becomes dysregulated, and then you eventually end up with possibly low cortisol levels, and that's when we call burnout. Like your body's so tired of pushing out this cortisol that you just like, oh, and you feel like you're tired, you're fatigued, you're having trouble sleeping. So cortisol is a steroid hormone. We have to have it. The problem is it's constantly being pushed out through our, in our bloodstream because of perceived threat and perceived issues due to, Dr. Ann said, like it could be depression, anxiety, hormonal imbalances, what have you, causing cortisol to stay high. So
Lack of self-care.
yeah, lack of self-care. There you go. And sleep, not getting enough sleep. So cortisol is supposed to be high first thing in the morning. Why? Because that's what wakes us up. So please drink your damn coffee. Just drink it when cortisol is already high, and you just drink it to help your cortisol stay high. And then, if you're a slow metabolizer like I am, don't have any more coffee throughout the day. But if you can rock coffee and still fall asleep 10 minutes after drinking it like Nicole, then go ahead. But cortisol's high in the morning, and it's supposed to be. That's what wakes us up. That's what gets us up out of bed. Our blood pressure tends to be a little higher in the morning. All of that's normal. But what it needs to do is after we wake up and we eat food, yes, please eat when you wake up, stop fasting, eat food, and then cortisol slowly goes back down, and it needs to go on a downward pattern throughout the rest of the day. So
Yep.
when you get to bed, it should be low. But if you're on your phone and you're worried about what you're going to do tomorrow and you can't get to sleep and you're watching TV and there's lots of blue lights and this and that, melatonin cannot naturally be produced. Therefore, cortisol might actually start to go up. And then there you are laying in the bed, eyes are open, can't fall asleep.
Yep.
And you might be hungry and you go downstairs and you have some cookies because cortisol's high and you're like, I want to eat some cookies.
Leads to craving.
So,
Yeah. Yep.
yes,
Can
then
we
you
talk
start
too
craving.
while you're talking about this? Because I really want to distinguish this because people are like, oh, this raises your cortisol and too much caffeine raises your cortisol. Everything raises your cortisol these days, right? But let's talk about the difference between acute cortisol raises that are normal versus chronic, right? And so there's a difference there. And that's what people are leaving out. They're leaving out, I only want to call this the fine details because they're more than the fine details, but working out, training raises your cortisol. That is normal. An acute, meaning short term, is normal, right? But if your cortisol is constantly and long, like it is, a chronic state of elevated, that's when we run into issues. And this is what a lot of influencers fail to leave out, right? Dieting raises cortisol, right? It's a stressor on the body. It's a short term, it is normal. And so these short-term raises are a very normal thing. And like Bouquet said, it is higher in the morning, which it should be. That's what wakes us up. And then as it naturally, throughout the day, it naturally starts to decrease. And so understanding, just like I hate when people are like, your insulin spikes, like, oh, spike, everything spikes your insulin. An insulin spike is normal, but then we have the influencers that want to demonize, oh, heaven forbid your insulin or spikes. There's actually times we want an insulin spike, post-workout being one of them.
Yes.
Right. And so it's just, I feel like it's so hyper fixated on to create so much fear. And there's so much fear that needs to be associated with marketing, because if they can't install fear in you, then they can't market to you correctly. And then you're not buying said product. And so just understanding that the normalcy piece of this, and I really want to normalize a lot of what we're talking about. So there isn't so much the fear associated, oh my gosh, my cortisol is high. Well, there's times when your cortisol should be high, right? Like that, that's a normal reaction.
So in my practice, I check what's called a fasting insulin. So fasting insulin, patients will come in the morning. I like to look at it in the morning. They're fasting 12 hours to 14 hours, no food. I check. Do you know how much insulin should be in your blood when you're fasting? None, because sugar should not be hanging out to attach to the insulin to get it into the muscle, right? So I like to say under 5 is what I want to see. And that's how I diagnose insulin resistance. But I'm getting somewhere with that. So yes, when we work out, insulin needs to go up because insulin makes us utilize sugar if it's utilized properly. And it also helps build things. Insulin makes things grow, muscle growth. Yes, it's growth. It's a growth hormone. So if it's high in the morning, then that means that you're insulin resistant because you shouldn't have any sugar in your bloodstream hanging out, right? So if it's high, if your fasting insulin is high, then I know that there's insulin resistance. But if I check it right after a workout and it's high, it doesn't mean anything to me. That's a good thing. So yes, what you're talking about is absolutely right. And I don't mean early in the morning, because obviously cortisol goes up to wake you up, right? But like 11, 10, 11 a.m., if you're fasting, most of my patients come in like at 9 and they're fasting, their insulin is should be under 5. So yes, there's a time and place for insulin to be high, but usually when cortisol is high, insulin's right behind it.
Yeah. And I want to dive into, because we were all talking before the podcast, before we hit the record button, and Dr. Ann really wanted to talk about this too, because I say, okay, there's times where cortisol raises and it's normal. These acute periods, right? But when we talk things like, and I'm like, okay, dieting, it's a stressor on the body that's going to increase your cortisol. But then we're talking, then we start to blur the line of what is quote unquote dieting for a normal period of time. That is a normal phase of the journey versus excessive dieting, versus when we're talking training and excessive training, which can lead to obviously long-term, like that's where it drives cortisol up long-term. And that's when it starts to work in the backwards direction. And so, Dr. I'm really going to let you talk, because I know you have your journey and you can really speak to this and you can really resonate with this.
Yeah. And my running disclaimer on this is that I'm a born and bred cardio junkie. I started swimming when I was 6 or 7 years old competitively, and I swam all the way through. Like, I love swimming. I love the water. It was really stress relieving. 5 days a week, 6 days a week that I was swimming. And so in my adult life, can't get to the pool that often, but I can get on my bike. And I was training 100+ miles a week, thinking I was the picture of a perfect fit person going into menopause, not understanding why I kept gaining weight and my legs were swelling like the Hulk. And I would go in and my doctor would say, well, that's really normal. And I was checking things off, getting really, really frustrated. And my cortisol levels were high when they checked it. And they said, but that's pretty normal because you work out so much. But it was this vicious cycle. And I didn't realize that in menopause, I was actually stressing my body out to keep that level of intensity that I kept in my 20s, 30s, teens, my early childhood. I just really enjoyed the adrenaline rush. I wasn't even doing it for the calories. I enjoyed the adrenaline rush, and I enjoyed the endorphins. I loved the countryside. That's why I was doing it. So it was really hard for me when I started this program to like strength training, because I just was like,
you didn't get that same rush, right?
This is boring. Like, I was finding myself, like, I'd finish a set and I'd do another set from something else, and I'd keep it going. And my coach was like, you're going to have to slow down. You got to take some rest. And it was really hard for me. And then as I started lifting heavier, I realized that I actually appreciated the rest, that I really appreciated slowing down and being more mindful with my movements. But for me, that was actually creating a lot of stress. And what's interesting is I work with a lot of women who are, kind of like me in that when we're on this journey and we're trying to flip flop from putting everyone's needs first to doing our needs, we move to a place where now our needs become stressful things that we're trying to check off a to-do list.
Mhm.
I got my workout in from 5 to 5:30. I raced home, got the kids breakfast made dinner for the evening. Like I was living that life. And then by the time I made it to bed, I'm scrolling TikTok and social media because I haven't had a chance to unwind yet. I literally hadn't sat down from 4:30 in the morning to 9 p.m. at night.
Yep. Been there. I understand that for sure.
And, of course we go through hard seasons, but like we have to really embrace slowing down and being able to be mindful about really checking in with what our bodies are communicating.
You just nailed that. Really understanding what your body's trying to say. So many women ignore it because they quote unquote perceive normal and they sweep it under the rug, right? But understanding and playing private detective with your body. If it's
And
screaming, it's screaming at you for a reason.
And I had medical doctors telling me I was doing great.
Yep.
And they were like, but you're gaining weight. Are you eating more? No, I'm not. Like, I'm not doing anything different.
And this is
And
a big
that was
piece.
the problem.
Yep. Because as we approach menopause, ladies, naturally we start to increase, like cortisol naturally starts to increase, right? So like what Dr. Ann said, she was doing these things and not even for, and I think a lot of women probably resonate on the opposite. They are doing these things because that's what they quote unquote think that they need to do to lose weight. And so they're, doing more cardio, they're doing more HIIT sessions. The belly appeared overnight out of nowhere, right? And they're doing everything they desperately can frantically to try and rid the weight that appeared overnight in the belly and all of the things. And yet you're working against your body and you're basically making it near impossible for you to, lose the fat. And so understanding the piece of this that, like she said, like, I was driving that number up without even realizing that that's what I was doing. And because that's just quote unquote, what I always used to do. So this is where having a plan custom to you and truly understanding like optimal hormone ranges and why we do things and, why they're effective and, how to go about this in a way of which obviously produces results, but also works towards the phase of the journey that you're in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, Dr. Ann, you had so many things working against you, like your history of cardio junkiness, right? Which is fine, but you had that, but then you also had the hormonal changes that you were hitting, your menopause, getting towards menopause, that's like a whole complete different ballgame. Like testosterone's left the building, progesterone's gone. Progesterone's one of the hormones that buffer cortisol, that buffer that, just like magnesium glycinate does. It buffers that stress hormone. But I like what you said about how being mindful, because forget everything else. Forget someone coming in and giving you hormones. Forget all the supplements, ashwagandha, ginseng, all that, right? Forget all that. The one thing that's free that you just said was being mindful and listening to your body, because I truly believe, and I know you see it in practice, but I truly believe that mind over matter for sure, and mind over medicine sometimes even. I do believe in that. I believe in the power of like stopping and like listening to yourself, being mindful, listening to your body, calming it down. You can work wonders with just that.
Oh, you can. And I think, and I really want to dive into what Dr. Ann said too, because she really nailed it here when we talk being mindful, but let's dive into really understanding what our body's telling us, because again, so many women perceive this fight or flight. So many women perceive feeling like dog shit and their hair falling out in chunks and no energy, as all of these things are normal. And while it may be normal to you, those things are not normal. Walking around bloated and miserable all day is not normal. Your hair falling out is not normal, right? Like no energy ever is not normal. Depression all of the time is not normal. And so, but as females, like she said, like Dr. Ann said, like we tend to prioritize everybody else's needs above our own. And so it feels really uncomfortable when we start to move our needs to the front burner. It feels really uncomfortable to have to acknowledge those things, right? And not just sweep them underneath the rug. And it's really, coming to terms with the fact that you for so very long have mistreated your body. And I don't believe it's anything that you're quote unquote doing on purpose. Nobody, treats themselves like that on purpose, but that's again, because we perceive these things as normal or because You know, we think that everybody's needs to come naturally as females, needs to come before ours because we wear all of these different hats. But then when we start to realize that we're not necessarily showing up in the best light for anybody else around us when we feel the way that we do, right? So I think really getting to a place where you can get that in tune with your body, and you can, and when it's screaming at you, truly understand and listen and fight and advocate for yourself. Because like Anne said, I was going to my doctor and my doctor's like, oh, you exercise. This is normal. I'm sorry, your legs swelling after every, you know, training session or every bike ride is not normal. Gaining weight excessively with nothing changing is not normal. And so you get gaslit. You end up getting gaslit. And then you have somebody that comes in. And so Dr. Ann works with our team. She works with one of the coaches on our team. And like she said, it was really uncomfortable at first. Like we're telling her, okay, I really need you to slow down. I need you to take a chill pill. Like we really need to like, you know, prioritize things in a different way. That feels really uncomfortable when all you've known is, you know, 100% steam ahead, and all you've known is go, go, go. And we like, oh, pull this, and it contradicts everything you think, you know, realistically, right? Like everything that you've been told and that you think you need to do to see the results that you're looking to see, it absolutely contradicts that. So getting in tune with your body. And do you want to dive into that? Because I really want you to like elaborate on getting comfortable with feeling uncomfortable for a little bit.
Well, so with that, I have a story, because this week, and I love it when there are themes of the week, and that's somewhat why I recommended that we talk a bit about this. I have actually spoken with a lot of young moms and new moms, and I see so much of myself and so much of who we are in America as mothers, in how these women are showing up, where they're showing up and they're trying to follow this plan, and they're trying to do sleep training, and they're trying to, you know, lovingly answer all of their child's questions and be regulated and grounded and not blow up like they were blowing up. And they're trying so hard not to hurt or injure their children. And I got moms going, I can't stand my kid. And I feel like a horrible parent because I just want to get away. And I just took a break and I just took a vacation. Why is, and I had somebody say to me just this week, I feel like I need a break every day. Yes. Yes.
Yes, you just nailed it.
Yes, that is it.
Mommy needs time out too.
And I've said, your baby, it's like, I know this doesn't make sense, and I know this goes contrary to what we're hearing. Your baby is going to survive crying 20 minutes. What your baby isn't going to do real well with is you hanging in for 20 minutes with your nervous system shouting at you. Your baby's picking up on it, regardless of how calm you look on the outside, because of co-regulation. Again, we can lie to ourselves. We cannot lie to our body. We are not lying to other people's body. We're picking it up. Our baby's picking up our stress. So we're not actually helping soothe them, even though maybe they quiet for a little bit. They feel that we're like this, right? So when I was doing dog training, I have a COVID dog, and he's real anxious. And then now I got really scared that he's going to like bite somebody, and I don't want to bite. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want him to be like euthanized or something, right? So every single time I'm around somebody, I'd grab the leash and I'd get tighter. And I've gone to like 2 trainers now, and they said, you got to stop doing that, because when you do that, your dog interprets that as a source of threat, that you have just communicated to your dog that this person is to be scary and he has to protect you now. And we do it naturally.
Yeah.
But we've got to slow down enough, and not slow down to check it off the list, because that's stressful. I just added one more thing to my list, self-care, damn it.
Yeah.
Now I got to fit in 15 minutes of meditation and being freaking quiet. That you're doing it wrong, man. You're doing it wrong.
You're resenting it the whole time.
Yes. Yeah. And going, I can't, this was me, right? Okay. 5 more minutes. I just got 5 more minutes. I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to do the things, right?
Yeah.
And I do this for a living, for crying out loud. I do mental health for a living. And then this is how I was approaching it. I gotta chill out for another 5 minutes. And then I can do the things that I need to do.
Yeah.
Really take a moment, right? Like I love the nature. I love nature. My moments now are go out in the hammock. I don't bring my phone on purpose, because I am a phone junkie. I have boundary issues with my phone, and my phone just keeps that cortisol high. It keeps me super stressed out. Even if I think I'm chilling out, we've got to learn to sit in the discomfort of the space of silence. And we used to do this as human beings. We used to do this as kids. We got to be okay being bored. We got to be okay with noticing I can't take more information and more noise.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've got to take a moment. And there are moments now that I look at my teenagers and I go, guys, I love you. I can't stand anybody right now. I'm not a good mom right now. I gotta go. And my husband will come out and be like, honey, why are you sitting in your car in the garage?
Oh my gosh, I do the same thing. There's so much peace in the car.
I need nobody to find me and I need quiet right now. That's what I
So
just
funny.
need nobody to need me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. I'm like, but right, how many of us as moms, the second we go to the bathroom, I kid you not, I couldn't poop for the longest time. Because the
Yeah.
second I went to the bathroom, I heard, where's mom?
Yeah.
Or little fingers that are sticking underneath the door. And you're just like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I just want 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Just
Yeah.
give me 5 minutes.
But we
remember those
need
days.
that. We need that. And our children are going to survive crying.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
going to learn how to cope, but not if we keep rescuing them
Yeah.
at the disadvantage of ourselves and
At our
regulating our own
expense.
nervous system.
Yeah.
And contrary to what society wants you to believe, this grinded out culture, this, you know what I mean? Like if you're just not go, go, go all of the time, you're not as a productive of a human being, right? And it's just the comparison and this whole like, you know, I feel like everybody's an entrepreneur these days. And if you're not an entrepreneur that's stressed out and doing, then you're not doing something correctly. And so just, I feel like there's space in normalizing that, like, you don't have to be go, go, go and normalize. I feel like people get an identity associated with that, right? And they pride themselves and their ego gets attached to that. And
Yeah. Like I only got 3 hours of sleep and I'm doing great. That's
exactly, right? Like, oh, I can live. I'm like, oh my gosh.
No, yeah.
And it
No.
is, it's something that we like, again, we like take pride in, and we're just like, oh, like that gives us a sense of accomplishment almost.
Yeah.
We have
I didn't eat at all
glamorized.
today because I kept working all day long.
I just didn't think about it yet. We have glamorized not taking care of ourselves and burnout to a point that we are staying in this place of constantly being stressed out and never having the time or space. Like if your time and space at the end of the night, the only time that you get is on this, you are not managing your cortisol or your stress at all.
No,
Yeah.
you're not.
You're staying stressed.
Well, I think people are now even more uncomfortable with that too, right? Like if there's nothing going on, it's just, and then we like find things to like create chaos and all of this stuff, right? Because it's so uncomfortable to have nothing and to just sit in nothing. I look forward to every single evening at the end of the day. Like my favorite part of my day is taking my bra off, putting my hair on top of my head, like sitting down with my yogurt bowl and literally like just shutting my brain off, shutting it off. And like, it is my absolute favorite part of my day, but people struggle with just that, like the just peace and the calm and the just, it's so abnormal these days. And so, like you said, there's this glamour around the grinded out culture, and there's this glamour around, you know, like, and I guess I'm kind of off topic, but not the whole entrepreneur. And if you're not just like go, 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 then you're not as, you know, as a productive of a human being. And so I feel like there's so much to that can outside of just the health and fitness space of this and the mental space of this, where people can look at this and be like, holy crap, it is like, this is society, and looking at that and normalizing that it's okay to take some time and want some peace and to want that too. Right. Cause there is that, like Anne said, the guilt when you're like, I just want some peace. I feel guilty, and you have guilt for wanting time alone, or you have guilt for wanting silence. And there's no guilt associated with that.
No, Becca,
Oh, go ahead. Anne.
I wanted to ask you really quickly. I know about this just from the addiction lens, but talk about the impact of high cortisol, high stress, and then ending your day with a glass of wine
Ooh.
or
Yeah.
two, because now I can relax and chill out. And it feels like, because it's the central nervous system depressant, it feels like we're relaxing with it.
Yeah.
But can you talk a little bit about what happens to cortisol when we do that?
Yeah. I love that you said that, because I get a lot of perimenopausal women that are like, I can't sleep. And I'm like, girlfriend, you need progesterone. And they're like, how can I go, what are you doing now to sleep? And they say 1, 2, 3 glasses of wine. And I'm like, oh, okay. So wine is great. It's like a little Xanax pill, right?
Wine, by the way.
Is that what you're sipping on right now, Anne?
It is not wine, just for the
She's
record.
probably drinking tea. I bet she's drinking tea.
I
Yeah.
am.
Dr. Ann's probably got like
Yeah.
hibiscus tea or tulsi tea, you know, something that calms her nervous system down.
Decaf English tea. Really
There
boring.
you go. Oh yeah, that's right. You just came back from London.
So cultured.
No, I love that you said that, Dr. Ann, because what happens is it temporarily does a benzodiazepine effect like Xanax. It helps you get to sleep, but guess what? You don't stay asleep.
Yep.
And because of the sugar content and the inflammatory processes that alcohol causes in general, while you're sleeping, your cortisol is going up. So instead of it being down and regulated, it kind of drops a little bit because your brain and stuff calms down. But then as you're sleeping, your blood sugars does a spiking thing throughout the night. So then insulin goes up to bring that sugar down. And so does cortisol go up because insulin went up, right? So you're actually working backwards. You're not helping yourself. And then you're adding on to the elevated cortisol and insulin resistance that happens in perimenopause and menopause. So even for, and it's like rampant in the culture, in our culture, Dr. Ann, I've noticed like 30 plus years old women. It's like, I've seen it on TikTok where they go, my way to wind down in the middle of the night, and I don't want to talk to anybody, get out of my face. And they have their wine and then they have like this big bottle where they're like chugging it. And I'm like, damn. But I understand where they're coming from. They're self-medicating. They're medicating their anxiety, their irritability, their trouble sleeping, their woes for the day because they haven't regulated their nervous system. So they're medicating it with the most legal drug out there, alcohol, right? So yeah, it does a very it's a bad roller coaster ride to your cortisol levels and insulin levels, Dr. Ann, when you drink that at night. I mean, in the day too, a little bit, but especially at night, we think it's helping, but it's not. And in fact, men do it too. Like my husband, there was a time when he was having 2-3 glasses of wine at night. And I'm like, babe, let me just help you get to sleep with these other natural ways of calming your nervous system down. 5-HTP is a really great supplement. Don't take that if you're taking SSRIs, but 5-HTP is a natural serotonin booster, which is our feel-good neurotransmitter. Melatonin, I'm a fan of supplementing with that. I just don't
And
like to go
magnesium
over 5
together.
milligrams.
My
Magnesium
favorite.
glycinate is amazing. L-theanine is great for anxiety and calming the nervous system down. I know Dr. Ann probably recommends those in her practice along with her natural like therapy sessions, which I probably need to see her for a therapy session.
You and I both.
But yes, it wreaks what do y'all say?
Wreaks havoc.
Wreaks havoc
Havoc.
on your adrenal glands there, the alcohol. But Dr. Ann, you know, I had to practice what I preach in my practice. So it's been over a year that I've been open, and I've recently had to tell my patients, because when I first started, a lot of my patients had my personal phone number because that's just how I started. And I guess, I mean, maybe it's not a good idea, but I'm very personable with my patients. And now we've gotten really busy and I missed some texts, and I had to like send a mass message to my patients, guys, like message me through the portal going forward, please, so I don't miss your messages. And then I also realized, gosh, sometimes I get messages on a weekend at night, and it's boundaries that I had trouble like creating. And
Doesn't allow
now
you
I'm
to shut
creating
off.
them because I don't want to burn out. I'm passionate about what I do. And like today's an admin day, it's Wednesday. I don't see patients purposefully, so I can regroup, you know, do things behind the scenes, spend time for myself, take a breather, relax. So then I come in Thursday, you know, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to start doing hormone therapy, weight loss, etc. So I've had to practice what I preach. And I have like a ritual at night, and I think we've done classes on it before, Nicole, where I tell people what to do, like dark room curtains, blackout curtains, dark you know, make it
Turn
cold
your
in the
phone on, do
room,
not
all the
disturb.
things.
Yep, all the things. Yeah, I love that you said that. Let's dive into, because I think the segues really naturally into, like you said, I had to create boundaries, and I talk about this often, but boundaries aren't to keep people, or aren't to like push people out there, to keep people in, right? And creating boundaries is one of the best ways that one of the best things that you can do to help lower your cortisol levels, because you then are putting in, obviously, creating boundaries is going to give you structure and be able for you to pour into things that you need to do. So I want to talk about natural things that we can do that will help to lower cortisol levels. Like we just said, naturally. And like Buket said, I needed to be able to shut down, and being able to shut down and be able to take time and being able to, appreciate the peace and the quiet is one of the easiest ways for us to calm ourselves down, our nervous system down. So that's great. Taking walks and meditating, another easy ways for us to just kind of quiet our brain to be able to help bring cortisol levels down. Your nutrition. Your nutrition is huge here, huge. Fueling your body with more whole food sources is huge. Like really giving your body what it needs to thrive, more protein, more fiber, again, more whole foods. It's not that we can't enjoy the cookies or the glass of wine on occasion or the donut or the pizza, whatever the case may be. But honestly, I know people say 80-20. I'm more of the 90-10 kind of girl. 90% of your day really should come from single ingredient whole food sources, right? But giving your body what it needs is going to naturally, internally do a lot of things. Obviously getting more sunlight, more exposure that way, more vitamin D, vitamin D plus K2. I know Buket can speak of this, but this is going to, and this is a recommendation I make for the majority of the clients that we work with, just because naturally most people are deficient in vitamin D. But that can be a great thing in addition to more sunlight. To help to help lower your cortisol. But, a big piece of this, and something we can do a whole podcast talking about, the power of sleep, but you getting quality sleep, not just, oh, I'm checking off a box. I went to bed. I'm tossing, I'm turning, I'm waking up every hour, but good quality sleep. And like Buket said, creating a program or some sort of hygiene or like sleep hygiene program, kind of like give yourself some sort of routine, ritual to be able to aid in and prioritize quality sleep. Sleep is so underrated in so many areas. So those are some things that just popped to my head. But do you guys have anything else that we can, give them as far as tips and tricks to truly be able to help bring that down, Buket, maybe on a supplementation route?
Well, I want to ask Dr. Ann. I want to ask Dr. Ann, because I'll talk about supplements, but I truly do. I mean, supplements are great, but I think what Dr. Ann's going to share when I ask her this question, I have a good feeling she's going to have the best answer ever. I think it's going to trump any supplement that you can ever take.
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah. Lifestyle for sure.
Dr. Ann, what can one do when they have started to become mindful and they're like, okay, I'm hitting my limit here. It's coming. What can they do like in the moment? What are some tips and tricks or tactics that they can do to calm their nervous system down?
Well, one of the things that I love saying about people is lean into the resistance. So, that feeling that you have when you don't want to pick up the phone, you don't want to do your husband's laundry, you don't want to answer your whiny kid for the 40 millionth time why they can't have ice cream for breakfast and watch Nickelodeon that at 4 a.m. Well, like, part of that leaning into resistance is actually honoring what's happening and what our body's trying to communicate to us. I've got to pause first before I do this. And so, again, a crying baby, a crying child, yes, please make sure that your children are safe. Make sure that your baby's in the crib. Make sure that, like, yes, the diaper's changed and they're fed. And if they're crying, okay, right. But some of that ability to lean into resistance. And a lot of people, what I hear a lot of women say in general, which are real big tells, are things like, it's not that big of a deal. It just took me 5 minutes anyway. Well, I don't want them to feel bad. I don't want them to feel guilty. I want them to know that I love them. Well, then say that to them, but take a break, right? So a lot of what I encourage people to practice, and I myself practice this, is I leave. I'm one of those people that if I hear a crying baby, I can't do it. I can try to sleep, I can try to rest, I can try to unwind, but I can't do it, right? And so I actually have to leave the environment, or I have to put a noise canceling headphones. Again, baby safe. And I didn't live like this as a young mom, by the way. I'm not preaching from experiences, preaching from lots and lots of years of doing the wrong thing. And I have to be willing to say no and let people feel the impact of that. I cannot rescue everyone in their
Mm,
feelings.
mm,
So I will go outside, I will take a walk.
okay.
Because of the type of work that I do is pretty sedentary, most of my meditative practice are actually outside. I love gardening. I love things that are active. I walk my dogs, but I try really hard not to make it a competition to see which person or dog can make it to the finish line first. I'm kind of bent that way. Um, and I try to slow down to notice things that I like and appreciate. I try to notice the birds chirping and the sound of the crickets and what the air feels like. And sometimes I'll even sit down with my dogs and I'll just pet them and I'll just sit and I'll look at all the things that I appreciate. And some of those gratitude practices, but some of those mindfulness practice actually help shape some unpleasant experiences. And that's actually how we can begin coping with unpleasant experiences. Again, like when I started strength training, that was highly unpleasant for me. I didn't like it. I knew that I needed to do it. I understand the theory behind it. But how I learned how to cope with it is I had to start looking for things that were actually kind of pleasant and enjoyable about it. And got to a place that I really actually very much enjoy doing. And when I don't, I got to switch it up a little bit. I went kayaking with one of my daughters recently. And, part of the kayaking experience was because it's me. Part of it had to be a competition. I won a few times.
Just throwing that out there, just side note.
She also won, darn it. And then there were other moments that I paused and I put the paddle in the boat and I just sat there and I noticed the stillness of the water and the silence and the bugs hitting things. And it doesn't happen. It's not like this magical moment that I'm sitting there. Some people can do this for like hours. I can't do that. Mine is like 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm that way too. I can't spend too much time.
Yeah, I can't either. I'm the same exact way.
But if you
appreciate
if you can
appreciate it.
yes, if you can do that hour long of sitting and zoning, you're like, peace out. That's amazing. I'm glad you can do that. I'm not wired that way.
Yeah, me either.
No, I
Awesome.
love
What do
that.
you think about cold water therapy? I used to tell when I worked in psychiatry because I had a lot of high anxiety patients, panic attack patients. And I know our vagus nerve is
Yep.
the longest cranial nerve, starts here and goes all the way down to our bottom because if we even squeeze when we're pooping, we can slow our heart rate down. So it's got a lot of control. Splashing face with cold water, holding ice cubes in the hand. I used to tell my patients that. And they said it worked. They said it helped them kind of calm their nervous system down, flight or flight system down. So I recommend cold water therapy a lot.
Yeah, it's there's a book that I love giving called Healing Through the Vagus Nerve. And it actually talks about ways of hijacking the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is responsible for a lot of information, ironically, information that our organs and muscles give to the nerve, not that the nerve gives out. And our body was actually designed to communicate to itself. It was designed for homeostasis and regulation. And a lot of what we learn in childhood and young adult is how to override that and stay disconnected from it. So, again, when I'm like, you catch that nanosecond where you're like, I just want to choke my husband more than clean his side of the bathroom. Like, just stop. Don't. And I have lots of women that are like, then it'll just keep it a mess. Okay, then you're going to have to learn how to cope with that mess. Maybe it looks like you look at something else, or maybe it's a conversation we need to have with your husband about the things that he needs to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Choosing, I say it's like picking your battles too. Like, I'm not moved by little things. I just not. I don't know. I've never been that kind of person, but like little things don't bother me. It's like severe big things that I'm like, okay, like, but little things I'm just like, I'm just
Go with the flow, kind of.
I
Yeah.
just can't let it ruin my day. I'm like, nah. But sometimes I wish I wasn't that way because I'd probably be more organized. I'm super type B personality.
There's
But
a lot of things I'm willing to get on board with. cold plunge therapy cannot be one of them. There's no getting me dipping in some alcohol like that. Like there is like not enough money somebody could offer me. There is not enough like, and it was just like this
I'm
huge,
gonna
everyone's
throw
like,
you in a cold. I'm gonna throw you in a cold
being
sea,
cold.
Nicole.
I don't know how I live where I live. I hate being cold and I'm always cold. And so the thought of like getting into like, what I could do a lot of things. It's just not.
Your thyroid's normal though. You know, you've checked your thyroid, Nicole. Your thyroid's normal. So you're cold, you're feeling cold is just your
I just,
hot natured,
yeah,
I guess.
I run
Or
cold. And
you're
when it's
or you're
just like when you get,
cold-natured.
it's when I cut too, and you get leaner, like, right. When
Oh
body fat,
yeah.
yeah, like that definitely plays a role in it for me of like always being cold. But like, it's like that. I'm either you go outside, it's 100 degrees and I come inside, it's like freezing in my house because the air is running. And I'm like, I cannot find a happy medium. I'm in a parka in my house. It's 100 degrees outside, but no, I love all of these suggestions. I think they're amazing. And like I said, obviously understanding cortisol and understanding when it's chronically elevated and why it's chronically elevated and how to combat that is a big piece of hormone optimization. It's a big piece of achieving your goals, but also obviously from a logical perspective. So, and we have so many females that listen to this and probably do fall victim to a lot of these, like influencers and ads and adrenal cocktails and all of these things. So just the logical space behind this, because prioritizing obviously your mental health and your well-being is huge. And a big piece of that is, obviously helping to with cortisol. If your mental health and your well-being is like not in a great place, and your cortisol is going to be elevated. So understanding that there's a lot of things that we can do naturally, like we talked about, and that you truly are in control of this. Sometimes we understand like outside circumstances, we're not always in control of what happens, but we are in control of how we respond to things. And it's easier said than done. I hear that. But, managing something that was so powerful me, and we can end on this because I know this is getting a little bit longer, and Dr. Ann, I'm sure you'll have something to say to this, but somebody said something to me one day and it just clicked. And it was just this like light bulb moment for me. But he's like, Nicole, have you ever thought about maybe managing your energy more so than your time? And I was like, damn. Because I was just always so like, I was always so high strung about things. Right. And if it wasn't done perfectly, and I was the type of person, you guys, like Nicole 7 years ago, everything had to be pristine, cleaned in the dishwasher. My clothes were washed, dried, and folded the same day I wore them. Like everything had
wow.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was like,
Wow.
yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
You would hate
And
me,
so,
girl. Ooh,
oh, bad. I mean,
no.
I still have pieces of that come out at times, but I understand how to manage them now.
Wow.
I'll never forget
Okay.
the first time my mentor's like, I want you to leave dishes in the sink tonight. I'm like, are you on crack? I'm like, absolutely not. But I mean, the day he said that to me, he's like, have you ever thought maybe more so managing your energy than and I was like, and it really like, it was a game changer for me, and being able to understand like, your energy plays a big role, and being able to have cue, or I guess coping mechanisms to bring that down. One of my favorite is like literally on days where I'm just super and I can feel it coming out, and like old Nicole comes out, and there's days that comes out more so than others, but I will literally go in my bedroom. I will stick my head in my pillow and I will scream bloody murder until I can't, like, until my like voice goes. And it is literally one of the most like the best stress relievers that there are. You're and shaking her head for those that can't watch it. But I mean, it's just been a game changer for me in understanding the energy of which I'm bringing to situations. So do you have anything to say to that, Anne?
Yeah. Glad
You're
you shared that.
well, you're stimulating your vagus nerve, which sends signals all through your body.
That's funny
So
you say that, because I have vasa vaga. I randomly pass out.
I remember you were
Like,
telling me that.
yeah, like if I get super sick, I'm passing out. Like if I am like puking in a toilet, like it closes, I'm passing out. Like I literally, like it was something that people thought I was having seizures for a while, but it was back in my super high, like that, like so makes sense, because it was like back when I didn't have all the tools and tactics that I have now. And I would literally just out of nowhere, just pass out. And they thought they were seizures for the longest time. Cause I mean, it was like, I'd be out for like 30
vasovagal. So
yeah.
for those who don't know what that is, it's you're stimulating the vagus nerve so much. Like I said, when you have a bowel movement, you're pushing, you can slow your heart rate down. You slow it down so much, you pass out.
Yeah, it shuts off oxygen to your brain. And so, but yeah, they were happening often, and we couldn't figure it out, but it was because my stressors, my anxiety was so high. And it was because I lived in a state of, like I said, I could not wear, like I couldn't have clothes in the hamper. I couldn't have dishes in the sink. Like everything was pristine. carpet lines had to be the same way. Like it was just like,
Okay.
I ironed my sheets. It was
Yeah.
just, it was, yeah, it was pretty intense. It was
Wow.
pretty intense. So we've come a long way, but it makes sense now why like my stressors were just,
Yeah. So you had high cortisol levels for sure.
So-
You mentioned about low cortisol. It's not as common as high cortisol, but we treat it
Mhm.
the same. Sometimes you get what's called Addison's disease. It's rare, but it's when your adrenal glands are truly burned out. And that's, I don't really handle that. I send those patients out to endocrinologists that specializes in those autoimmune kind of cortisol
Mhm.
adrenal issues. But we can have a period of low cortisol after it's so high and you burn out, but it's treated the same way. Functional medicine wise, adaptogens, ashwagandha, ginseng, sleep hygiene, of course, and then therapy with an amazing therapist like Dr. Ann to figure out, okay, what
Mhm.
can we do? What things can we take away? How to manage your energy better, etc. But 5-HTP, I call it my multitasker supplement. Again, if you're on like Lexapro, Prozac, Celexa, any SSRIs, you cannot take it. So this is not medical advice. It's just education, guys. So do your research, talk to your psychiatrist, talk to your doctors. But 5-HTP helps boost that feel-good neurotransmitter that helps reduce cortisol levels, lower cortisol levels as well, just through other mechanisms. Um, and I like 100 milligrams. I tell my patients take it at bedtime. It helps them sleep. It helps them relax. It reduces anxiety and irritability. It does a lot of stuff. Like I said, it's a multitasker. So that's one of the supplements along with what's called adaptogens, rhodiola rosea. Best taken in the morning because it gives you energy. Ginseng, ashwagandha, you can take that at night. Those adaptogens, some mushrooms are really good. I'm not talking about like the hallucinogenic stuff. I'm talking about the
Come
stuff
on,
you can get on
Buket.
there. I'm not talking about that stuff, not today. We'll talk about that another day.
Nootropics.
But I'm talking about just, shiitake, what is it? Lion's mane,
Mhm.
maite. Those mushrooms are really good for your brain health and calming your nervous system down. But really supplement wise, that's the main thing. Now, perimenopause and menopause, like what Dr. Ann was facing when her cortisol levels were going up and she was hitting menopause, obviously replacing those hormones and optimizing them is going to make a difference. So thyroid needs to be functioning properly. Progesterone needs to be optimized. Testosterone would be great. And then estrogen, if you need estrogen post-menopause. So replacing those hormones, because lack of those hormones can cause inflammation there in of itself and boost cortisol as well, make cortisol go up. So
Amazing.
Just a quick question, Bucket. Isn't that what we were talking about with burnout, dorsal phasal collapse?
yes, I don't know what's dorsal vasal collapse. You educate me. I've never heard of that term.
That's synonymous with what happens in depression. So when we have stayed in too much of an excitatory and anxious state, usually, so the link is when we stay in a place that Nicole was in for far too long, we can, our body essentially shuts us down because it realizes that we aren't doing it.
Yeah, it's a saving
And
mechanism, right? It's like a protective
yes,
mechanism. Yeah,
yes.
I've never heard of it that way. I've never heard of that term, but I know what you're talking about.
Well, and the sometimes the end result of that is that we can go through periods of depression, and usually depression is the end result of extended period of high anxiety or high threat. So PTSD, anything that's traumatizing for us, being a highly anxious kid, maybe not having parents that knew how to help you cope, like all of that can actually lead to neurologically what is known as in mental health depression, but it's a neurological phenomenon.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm saying this is that there are all these tricks and stuff. And if you want like a cortisol cocktail at night because you want to avoid alcohol, fabulous, drink it. Like if it's a part of your evening ritual, like yeah, great,
Sure.
great. But it's kind of like a lot of what I think is really a part of this program. You can't shortcut stuff. Even the urgency to heal, mental health, the urgency to lose weight, all of that is a part of that high anxiety, high stress. Approaching things with more mindfulness, with intentionality, slowing things down on purpose, giving ourselves permission to take a breath between appointments, giving ourselves permission to not answer the phone, take care of the whiny baby. Again, we can be loving and set boundaries, but all of these things, a part of slowing down and listening to ourselves, this is an investment in us. And what we've done for many of us, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, got us to that place, got us to a place now that we're finally, thank goodness, having to slow down to get our goals met.
100%, 100%. Where were
I
you
mean, there's
15 years ago? You would have saved me a lot of money in neurology.
I
Like
mean,
medical
we can't
bills.
talk. Well, we can't even talk really about like supplements and cortisol without hitting exactly what Dr. Ann's talking about, because some of us have cortisol issues or dysregulation due to those childhood traumas, due to those maladaptive mechanisms or adaptations that we've had, due to, and I can speak from personal experience, like due to those, you know, experiences of, like Nicole said, chaos. Like for someone who struggles with or had a mother with borderline personality, you are used to living in chaos. And when it's not chaotic, something is wrong.
Yep.
And you create chaos so you can go back to your normal. It's crazy, but that's what we do. And so whenever we can't really talk about, and that's why Dr. Ann, like, I love that we're all doing this together, because Nicole teaches us weightlifting, macronutrients, fitness to like the science to the T. I got the medical aspect. You have the mental health aspect. And what's really important is we can't do one without the other two. We just
You can't. They all play off of each
can't.
other. It's all
Yeah, you
interconnected.
can't.
Yep.
And so it's really hard in my practice. Like I said, like a lot of providers, they don't want to touch the mental health aspect, but I know how important it is. I'm like, I'll look at a patient and I just look at them and I don't know what it is. I just know, I'm like, all right, we got to go back to childhood, because I know something happened in childhood that if we don't fix or start the process of fixing, I'm not going to ever truly heal your gut. Like, it's not going to happen. Or I'm
Yeah.
not going to ever truly like get to the root cause of this. Like, I can give you all of the functional medicine things. I can give you all of the hormones. I can tell you, Nicole can tell you how to work out, lift weights. But if you do not start healing that thing that happened to you in childhood, or that thing that marked you so strongly that has somehow creeped into every aspect of your life, we're not going to heal.
All starts with a healing journey. 100%, 100%. And for most people, it goes back to childhood. So many things there, so many things. And I'm sure that could be a whole other podcast for a whole other day as well.
Yeah, we need that one, Dr. Ann.
For sure.
We need to do one where we
are
talk
not
about what
tackling
happened.
that now.
No. That's a whole other rabbit hole. Yeah, that's a whole other rabbit hole. We'll have to do a whole podcast on identity, because I feel like that can really be like a lot of the stems from childhood, and like that could just be like that will be fire. That is on the list. Mark my words, that's on the list here pretty quickly.
Like,
so
all right, Dr. Ann, list what things do you see in Bouquet? Where can go ahead.
You can throw me on that list.
Book.
We'll take my That's so funny.
Send me the blueprint after the visit today. What do I need to do?
We all got stuff. Me too. We all do.
We all have our things. We all have our, yeah. I used to like laugh with my like mentor, because I'm like 50 shades up. Like instead of 50 shades of gray, it's like the 50. I'm like, what shade are we diving into today? Because like
I have a sign in my home. I do not have it in my office. That would be tasteless. But as a therapist, I love jokes. So the sign in my home is relax. We're all crazy. It's not a competition.
Oh, like, I love that.
And I fully mean that about myself. Like, it is not me judging people. I mean, I have been there in crazy land and sometimes still go there. We all got something. We all do.
Hey,
Dr. Ann,
you're not
I'm
alone.
not going to hold us up longer, but I feel like what I have gained from my personal journey or whatnot, and I'm sure both of us, because you have to be, but it's resilience. So there is an end game, right? There is a positive turnaround to the things that we've experienced. It's not doom and gloom, right? Because I do feel like it's made me a much more resilient person.
100%.
Guys, the pain, and I had a childhood with really severe eating disorder. Some of the most beautiful things happen out of pain. And I think we miss that. And a lot of times we want to protect our kids, understandably, from pains that we received. But pain actually does something remarkable because pain helps build our character. And I'm not trying to excuse things that happened to us that should have never happened to us as children. That's not at all what I'm saying. But the fact that you're still here, the fact that you're still fighting, the fact that after 30, 40, 50 years of dieting, you're still trying, that really says something about who you are as a person. That when it comes easy to people, they don't get to say that about themselves. And so I really want to invite people to have a lot of pride in the fact that you're still doing this, you're still showing up, because you could have given up. You could have let go. You could have just said, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to be what it is. And maybe you did that for a while, but you didn't stop because you're here. And that's what makes us cool as human beings.
There's power to that. And I feel like that's just such a great way to end the podcast.
Drop the mic, Dr.
Drop the mic. I
Ann.
know she's coming in hot today. She's coming in hot.
Dr.
All right.
Ann.
Well, you guys, again, hopefully you found some value to this. I feel like we all got a tad bit vulnerable knowing that you're not alone. Like
Yeah.
Dr. Sen, we all have our
Yeah.
like level of crazy, but we will see you guys in the next episode. Ciao.
Bye.
If this is helpful, give me a like, follow me, or subscribe for more.